Hey guys, this is Game Welcome to another Pokemon trade card game video. We didn't do the draft battles last weekend because people were away. We had Matt was traveling and Sai had family issues to tend to, so it's probably for the best, to be honest, because if you didn't see, my Sandstorm draft was really bad, and honestly, I've managed to scrape some stuff together. That's what we're going over today. Pretty much is the stuff that I am going to be choosing between. Hopefully this weekend. Hopefully we'll be able to do the stuff this time out. But it wasn't great, and then managed to get some stuff in trades. Had to make a couple of hard sacrifices, but we got some stuff in trades, and managed to make something out of it. So yeah, just kind of want to go over some of the scary stuff that I either don't have access to or I don't have as strong a skill set for as some of the others, and then we'll go into what I actually can do and why I think it's actually a lot better than it looked. Mostly because trades have saved my butt. So thank God this is a trading card game and we can do that. So Raichu is like the one EX that I actually do have from this set. It's really good, but I don't have the Manectric from the previous set to try and help that out. I think Sai has got 3 of it, so you can actually Wally Electrike into Manectric turn 1, get the energy attachment to it and accelerate energy on the first turn, and that's going to be really good. Omastar I do have, but I only have 1 Swampert. Sai has 2, so if this deck is going to work, it's going to work better for him than it is for me. So this one is possibly out of my reach. I also only have 2 Buried Fossil, so that also would have hurt the Kabutops. I did pull one of these, but I traded it for making the decks that you'll see down below. Yeah, Sai got like 2 of these, I think, and Pepper now has 3 of them because he's the one I traded it to. So no shocks for seeing that this is just an enormous threat this round. So that's a problem. I got 0 Aerodactyl, which Pepper also picked up, so there's another one for the fossil deck in general that could be really strong. And Aggron is one I was hoping to get because I got 4 of the Lairon in the last set that would have set this up perfectly, but I just didn't pull it. So we can't really take advantage of this, unfortunately, and Pepper has 2 of them because of trading. So yeah, that's a bit unfortunate. And then some other stuff, like I didn't get anything for Credilli. I only even got 1 of the root fossils, so I can't even just play the root fossil if I wanted to stall with it, which isn't actually a bad idea in one of my decks, but I just don't have it, so oh well. Also, this attack is like super annoying. We're gonna have to be very careful if Pepper decides to bring this. Again, he's the one who can play it out of the known cards right now. Golduck is another one I think I didn't even pull, or if I did, I pulled like 1 of it. This could be pretty dangerous. Like, it's not very good if the opponent doesn't play special energy, but 70 damage for 2 energy is insane. So we've really got to be careful of that. And then speaking on mental stuff I didn't pull, Steelix has the potential to be very good. Spinning Tail is very, very expensive, but 20 to everything is kind of insane. So on a metal Pokemon with Rage too, we've got to be mindful of that. So what did I actually come up with? Well, we have 3 different decks. It's almost definitely going to be one of these. I have a couple of others, but Lonely Fang is not too solid, I don't think, here. It's just a little bit fragile. And the Venusaur Raichu thing I have not been happy with in testing. So these ones I think are a lot better. So one of the things I did pull was the Shiftry. I pulled 2 of this naturally, and I traded the Dusclops I pulled to get the 3rd one, so that I could try and build this deck. And this is not my preferred playstyle. Like, 2 of these decks are not really my preferred playstyle this round. You gotta do what you gotta do. The Shiftry here synergizes pretty well with Energy Removal 2, because, well, I mean, they're both on coin flips, which is unfortunate, but the Shiftry bounces energy back to the hand from the active Pokemon, and the energy removal 2 obviously is just discard an energy and play. It's Crushing Hammer, so if you flip heads, you just discard one of the opponent's energy and play. The Shiftry itself is really good at debilitating the active, because if you get multiple of them out, you will be able to flip multiple times per turn. And the energy removal 2 picks off the stuff on the bench, because Shiftry can only hit active, which is kind of annoying. Shiftry's attack is not to be underestimated though. It is very expensive, so this is not a fast deck by any means. There's no acceleration here either, so that doesn't help. But 80 damage if the opponent doesn't have any energy on them is pretty absurd. And if you can get 2 or 3 of these out, you are probably making it so that they don't have energy on them, which is really good. Now, I do have a third Dunsparce over here as I try and reset this. I do have a third one, but this deck doesn't really need 3. 2 is actually kind of a luxury here, to be honest, because you've got other good starters too. The C-Dot, it is on a coin flip, but 30 damage is actually quite reasonable. You could knock out Vampire with this if you flip heads. That's pretty funny. There is also the Zigzagoon, which is very good from this set actually. Just energy, draw a card, you know, gets you out of tight situations. And then we have the Linoon, and this is where the heart and soul of the deck actually comes in, because this lets you recover the energy removals from the discard. It is only one at a time, so this is nowhere near as good as, say, the new Floatzel or Sableye or any of that sort of thing, but it is still very respectable, and being able to recover your resources is super good. You can recover supporters with this the turn after you play them. You can recover the rare candy that you probably use turn 1 to evolve into this if you are going that quick. You can recover energy removal, and it lets you play a bunch of like one-off tech stuff, which otherwise may be a little bit too difficult to play, because you can just recover them from the discard. But the other thing you can do is evolve into this Linoon, which we played last week in the Sceptile deck. Searching your deck for any 2 cards just lets you get yourself set up as well. If you don't have a supporter, you can search for one of them. If you have a supporter and you've got like a C-Dot on the bench, you can search for Rare Candy Shiftry and just get that going as quick as you can. You can also get the one-of the Gardevoir, because I did pull one of this, and this isn't just jamming it for the sake of jamming it. There's genuine reasons to have it in here. One, it's not a fire week. So, it sounds dumb, but Shiftry being the finishing attacker here for the most part. Last week, Matt showed the Blaziken, right? It's got 2 of them, and that's a pretty big problem. So, Gardevoir provides a really strong card that isn't weak to that side of things. It also does a lot of damage if you can. I mean, if you power up to Sandstorm, you are doing tons of damage. Even though our game plan is removing energy from the opponent's side of the field, it counts all energy in play, so it will also work on your own stuff. But any energy they've been stashing on the bench then comes back to bite them, and you can hit for 70, 80, even more than that quite easily. But the other thing it does is synergizes using feedback. If you are bouncing energy back to the opponent's hand with the Shiftry, that means they have more cards in their hand, which means they will take more damage counters from Gardevoir's feedback attack. So you can get that to do 6, 7, maybe even more, depending on if the opponent's like drawn a bunch of cards with Delcatty or something. You can make this hit really nice numbers. And yeah, it's 150 HP. This thing's not going down in less than like 3 attacks most of the time. So very respectable, worth the 2 prizes. It's just a 101 line because I do not have any of the regular Gardevoir, so this is purely running off the back of the red candies. Speaking of which, I only pulled 2, but I've made some sacrifices and traded for the other 2. Partly in the Carboto line, but mostly I had to trade a Desert Shaman. So I only have 3 Shaman now, but that's okay. Pepper has one, everybody has at least one they can play. That's, you know, that's the main thing, really. Beyond that, it's pretty simple. I mean, Dual Ball is at this point better than Fan Club for me, because Dual Ball can search you Dunsparce, and then Dunsparce gets you your basics out. We can talk about the Dunsparce real quick because it's going to come up in the last deck as well. This card is insane, and if I had 4 of it, I'd probably be jamming 4 of it in almost every deck. This one excluded, but still. 1 energy, search your deck for 3 basic Pokemon, put them on the bench, shuffle deck afterwards, and you may switch with one of your bench after you place them down. That's just ridiculous. It also can paralyze as well, which is very funny. We have had that happen in testing, where it's like 4 paralysis flips in a row or something. It's super silly. So it might happen. But other than that, relatively standard stuff with it. The energy is a bit light here. I did trade for the 3rd multi-energy as well, so I like multi in here because only Gardevoir needs a different color than grass, right? So as long as you don't put 2 multi-energy on the same Pokemon, because the restriction is that it's a rainbow so long as you don't have any other special energy on the Pokemon. So you just need to do multi-energy plus pure grass, and you can power it up. But you can put multi-energy anywhere really, and it works out perfectly fine. The Shiftry has got 2 colorless in its attack cost, so it doesn't even matter if you have to double up on multi-energy. So very, very good. 14 energy is a little on the light side, but when you consider our main game plan is with 1 energy to use the Linoon until we power this thing up, it's not so bad. So I think this is fine. We're also not discarding them for Delcatty, so yeah, it works out. But yeah, the 2 Dual Ball, all the energy removals, 1 Pokemon reversal, because you can get this back out in the discard. If you can reversal trap something in the opponent's active, or bring in their thing that's got a lot of energy so you can use Shiftry to disable them, that also helps. Rare Candy is busted as all get out in this era. This and Gen 4, it was Gen 5 when it got nerfed again. This just lets you evolve directly on the first turn. So if we start Zigzagoon, we can Rare Candy to Linoon in order to use Seek Out on the first turn. It's absurd. You can also just go C-Dot, bench it, Rare Candy, Shiftry in the same turn, and it's crazy. Super, super good card. We needed to get the trades for it no matter what the cost, so that's where we are. Only 1 Warp Point. I really wish I could fit 2 in here, but I think Reversal is a little bit better because I can guarantee what I want off of that. But Warp Point is very good in this deck since Linoon has got 0 retreat. This one has a 1 retreat cost, but the new one is 0 retreat. So yeah, Warp Point is exceptional in here, and if I could find space to put a second one in, I definitely would. Supporter-wise, the bare minimum draw that I can get away with here. I mean, this is a very light supporter package when you look at it, but we've got the 1 Copycat, 3 Shaman, 2 Birch, and 4 Oak as my draw supporters, 2 Elm for my Search supporter, because this lets you search for your Pokemon to Rare Candy straight away, so very nice for that. And then the Town Volunteers for recovery. You usually see like 1 of this in most decks, so this is no exception. Keep in mind we can actually recover it with Linoon if we have to as well, so we can use this in not consecutive turns, but like every other turn if we really need resources back. Not entirely sure how we get in that situation, but it's possible. Deck number 2 is the aggro option for this round. This one is entirely focused on Wally's Training, which is not a card we're going to see too many times, I don't think, but there are some decks that will definitely appreciate this. Wally's Training is the same as Wally himself, and I think it's the same. I think Wally has to evolve active as well, and may be able to evolve the bench. I'm pretty sure it's active only. This is exactly the same card as got banned and expanded before Gen 8 changed the supporter rules, and this lets you abuse the 1 energy attacks. The reason that I don't play this in here is because we have the Rare Candy engine, right? But in this deck, if you can resolve Wally turn 1 and you have the appropriate energy, of which we have loads, you have all 1 energy attacks on your dudes. So Raichu, 20 plus Confusion, Espeon, 20 plus confusion, both of them if you flip heads, but that's still fine. The Jolteon is paralysis on the coin flip. This is mostly here because I don't have 4 Espeon, but also because it's nice to have a lightning attacker that doesn't take 2 prizes, or give up 2 prizes. So it can help. Zero Retreat is also good to pivot into after a KO until you know what you're actually doing for the turn. So it's just good all around, right? Everything else is 1 or 2 retreat. Because Dolphin is the last one. This does damage your own bench, so you do have to be careful with it. There's no healing in this deck to circumvent that. But it also is a very, very good type, and 30 damage is significant on the first turn of the game. Do remember we can attack going first. The only thing we can't do is draw a card for turn. But yeah, Donphan does 30 and hits for weakness on the Skitty, on the Zigzagoon if anyone else is going to play it, on the Dunsparce is the most important one. Also hits weakness on this thing in case anybody else plays it. Sableye is the one support mon in this deck. It steals an opponent's supporter effect basically, which is kind of cool. It's especially cool if you can Desert Shaman them when before they actually wanted to be Shamaned. But it's mostly there just because it is a different type. Normally you would play a support mon like Dunsparce or Skitty here, but we already have Eevee, and Eevee is a colorless Pokemon, which means it actually makes our supporter search a little bit weaker here. You may notice I'm not playing Dual Ball in this deck, because we have access to Lynette's Net Search instead. Since we are playing a bit more of a Potpourri type deck, we're playing Counter the Weakness more or less, we could use this to search for Eevee, Pikachu and Phanpy exactly and put them into hand. Or you can search for Sableye as one of those as well if you want the support mon. So Sableye just provides one of alternate type that you can search for that actually helps out here. I should note, if you start Eevee and you don't have Wally in your opening hand, Signs of Evolution is still really good. Just search your deck for any of the Espeon that you want, or Jolteon, it's not picky. So yeah, 1 energy you can just do that, which is really good. The Pikachu, both of them kind of come up. This one is the promo one that we picked up this round. On coin flips it does disable attacking on the opponent's side, whether that's by your own heads effect or paralyzing them, so that's kind of neat. There's another one in format that has Lightning Tail for 1 colorless, which is paralysis instead of immunity. That might be better, but I think they both kind of accomplish the same thing really. And then this one just does a lot of damage if you actually put the energy on it. It doesn't come up very often, but when it does, it's going to matter, and that's the main thing. So it's really straightforward. If you have the appropriate energy, of which we have lots to play with, you can get your quick attacks and you're just trying to go for quick aggression, whilst also building up to the free energy attacks that Raichu and Espeon have here. So Raichu's Mega Thunderbolt does 120, that KOs pretty much everything in the format. The only stuff it doesn't kill is Gardevoir, Aggron and Typhlosion, because Kabutops and Wailord are hit for weakness, so they do still get KO'd anyway. The catch is you've got to discard all the energy that's on this thing, but that's okay, because we don't need to do it very often. Most of the time we're going to be poking with the smaller hits, and usually building up into Espeon's Energy Crush. We're not necessarily going to kill everything super quickly, so the opponent is going to get a chance to build up energy in play. And at that point, Energy Crush can do 60, 70, even more damage if the opponent just puts a ton out. So any free energy will do that, so it really doesn't matter what colors you place on it, which is pretty good. You just need that 1 for the first attack. Jolteon also has a relevant second attack, 40 damage and 10 to every bench Pokemon that has at least 1 energy attached to it. Since your attacks are only for 1 energy, you don't generally have to prepare very many Pokemon in advance. So this can punish the decks that spread their energy out, which is quite nice, you know? 40 damage is okay, a bit low for the amount of energy that it takes, but it's enough damage that it can 2-shot most things and then soften up stuff on the bench. As far as the actual trainers and stuff go here, you'll notice there's a lot more supporters in this deck, and that's mostly because of Wally. You're not looking to be playing complicated combo turns with this, you pretty much just need an energy, you need the Wally, and that's more or less it. We have the usual sort of draw package in here. We've got the 4 Oak, the 2 Birch, and the 3 Shaman. It's only 9 draw supports, but we do have plenty of search stuff as well. You know, Wally is a big search supporter, Lynette is a big search supporter. We have 2 Warp Point and 2 Reversal as our only item cards per se. This just, you're trying to pick off specific Pokemon on the opposing side, and also Confusion is really annoying if we actually play the Weezing deck as a matchup with this one, the Weezing Donphan, and that Confusion is really, really irritating. So 2 Warp Point is definitely good for that. Strength Charm is, as I only have 2 copies of this in general, it's my other like 2-odd thing here, mostly just to actually pick up that little bit more damage, right? When you need 40 off the Donphan, or if you need 30 off of the Dazzle Blast or the Confuse Ray or something, right? We're an aggro deck, we're gonna play this. And then 18 energy is a lot, but we have 3 different types of attacker here, and they need 1 colored for their actual attack. So 4 rainbow, 3 multi makes a lot of sense here. That's 7 outs to any of the attackers, and then 3 psychic, 3 fighting specifically for the Espeon Donphan, and because we have more colored cost on the Raichu, and it also discards the energy, we've got 5 lightning in here. So it's respectable. It's not the strongest deck out there, but it can win before the opponent even gets to play. So, you know, there is that. If you can, say, start Donphan, you're probably taking out their support before they even get to play. So that's pretty cool. And then the last one. Oh boy, you gotta get ready for this one. This is a doozy. I had to trade for the two of the Kingdra and the other Wailord here. This is the Wailord that cost me the Carbotops, but this is what we call in the business out my big stupid whale deck. It is pretty terrifying. It's a little bit light on the energy. That's the only kind of concern here. It's like slightly light on energy, and I would like 1 more switch, I think, but I don't really see any way I'm going to get them in. So, Wailord EX. It has 200 HP. That's all you need to know. This is technically not the biggest, I mean it is the biggest Wailord, it's the biggest Pokemon we're going to see for a very, very long time, but it's not the biggest Wailord we've ever seen, obviously, but it certainly is at the moment, and it does everything you would expect a big dumb whale to do. It takes a lot of energy, it technically does a lot of damage, but it has a big catch to it as well. So if you have any damage counters on this thing, its damage starts, as it says, dwindling down very, very quickly. And, well, not even that quickly, actually. There's one more recently that's like minus 40 instead of minus 10. So you can still do respectable damage even if you've got like 50 damage on you or something. Not for 4 energy though, right? You're really looking to do that big 100, and 100 is enough to KO a ton of stuff. So this guy is a menace if you can get him in undamaged. He does have that first attack as well. I think we have established that if you do not have any damage counters on the Wailord, you cannot actually use this attack. So you can't use it just to switch to the bench, which is unfortunate because that's how I'd like to use it, but apparently that's not how it works. But it heals 30 and then switches to one of your bench ones. You usually switch to like Dunsparce or something that you're going to sacrifice on that turn. And your goal here is to Dwindling Wave and get 100 thing. I don't know why the cards keep like moving when I highlight them, by the way. It's a really annoying thing. I don't know what's up with that. Doesn't matter. So how are we going to get 4 energy on this thing? Well, we don't have any acceleration for it because I was going to put the Swampert line in and then we put Dalcati instead because the draw mid-game is a little bit too tempting. But what we do have is Kingdra, and Kingdra is kind of the opposite acceleration here. Armboros would be better, but I don't have it. Also, it's not water, so it would be a bit harder to attack with. But the Kingdra lets you move any water energy from your active to one of your bench Pokemon as often as you like. The fact that we have two of these big stupid whales means that we can have one in the active doing its thing, and then when it gets damaged, we shift all of the energy off of it onto the benched one, and we find a way of switching to the bench from there. Now, there's a couple of ways obviously of doing that. We can play the hard switches, we have 2 switch and a warp point, or we can super scoop up. Now keep in mind, 200 HP is going to be difficult to even 3-hit KO in a lot of decks. Like, 3-hit KOing this is about as good as you could hope for. That's doing a minimum of 70 damage per turn. If we flip heads on a super scoop up after the opponent has wasted like 2 or even 3 attacks on one of these things, that's just gonna ruin everything they've been going for. And we can have been attaching to our stuff as well, and it's just a miserable situation to find yourself in. So super scoop up brings the Wailord back, and then we switch in the one that we've moved all the energy to, and we strike for 100 damage. And, you know, place the Whalmer down, or evolve into a different Wailord depending on what we've got on the bench. We do have 3 whales for a reason. So yeah, it's pretty nasty to be honest. Super Scoop Up working on the EX Pokemon is horrific to go against. Otherwise, I mean, the Horsey's not particularly great because it takes 2 energy to attack, but that's kind of whatever. Seadra does have a 1 energy attack, so this could be okay. It does come up sometimes if you need to like soften up a 120 HP mon or something, but mostly it's about just establishing the whale. Kingdra itself is not to be underestimated though. 120 HP is really big on a 1 prizer, and Rapids is a pretty good attack. You might actually just move to the Kingdra instead of the Wailord. Yeah, it only does 50, sure, but again, 1 prize Pokemon, and it also can discard energy on the opponent as well. So you might be able to do some fun stuff with that. So it is pretty strong. We do have the 3 Dunsparce in here. Again, I don't own 4 of them, so that's a little unfortunate. I am probably going to try and trade for the 4th one at some point soon, but that relies on Pepper needing something from me, so that's kind of whatever. We have the 1-1 Delcatty. The Skitty is the main reason for this here, because yeah, you put an energy on this thing, but remember, if it doesn't get KO'd, we can always move that energy away anyway with the Kingdra, and it searches for more energy out of the deck. We do only have 13 energy in here, so it can be a little bit difficult to maintain your energy attachments per turn, and that's the one way that this can get beat out, is if you just never draw your energy, because you need forward to attack. So Skitty's really good for that, and then Delcatty itself is, we all know by now, we can discard an energy from the hand and draw up to 3 cards. So you can use the Delcatty to discard the energy, search for the Skitty, which is really good. The Whalmer itself is not amazing, but it can remove 4 damage counters off of itself, so there is that. There may be situations where you have to attack with the whale, so keep it in mind. Yeah, it puts itself to sleep afterwards, but ideally you're evolving into a Wailord DX next turn, so it shouldn't matter. As far as the trainers go, we have a lot more items in this one than the aggro deck, funnily enough. We've got our 2 Dual Ball. Again, I think this is better than Fan Club because of Dunsparce exactly. Because if you flip 1 heads on this thing, you search for Dunsparce, and then Dunsparce gets all of your other basics. So I think the Dual Ball is just much better here. We do have the 4 Rare Candy, because even though we've got like a 4, it's a 3-2-3 at the moment, you could cut one of the Seadra and go to a 3-1-3 here, and then just rely on the Rare Candy. That could be the one space to get a switch in, but I like the idea of not being super vulnerable to Omastar, just knowing that that is going to be played this week. But the Rare Candy is still super good because you want to be able to get into Kingdra as soon as possible, and you know, you can even potentially use this turn 1 to get to Delcatty or even Wailord, so it's not terrible. 4 Super Scoop Up mentioned before, 2 Switch and a Warp Point mentioned before. Our draw supports are the Copycat, 2 Desert Shaman in here. Didn't really have space for the 3rd one, and instead I ended up playing the Birch, probably could switch this round, but you do kind of need to make sure you have an energy most turns, and I figure drawing more cards for Birch rather than shuffle drawing 4 is going to be a little better here. Also, Birch doesn't get rid of my most important supporter here at Pokemon Nurse. So if we're shifting all of our energy away from the active Wailord, there's no energy to discard off it. So we get to... It's a similar idea. Like, we get to remove several turns worth of attacking from the opponent every time that we do this. You can then combine this with the switch card in order to get into the Wailord that you need to. So this is super good, and honestly it's probably the main reason why I need to try and fit a 4th switch in here, because this is just ridiculous, to be honest. Everything's so bulky in this deck that if you can't one-shot it, you're in a very bad spot. Free Birch, if you've never seen Birch, it's the same as Bianca, it's the same as Lily after the first turn, draw until you've got 6 in hand. It's pretty straightforward, but we do tend to play quite a lot of our hands down here, so it's not too hard to draw 3 or 4 cards with this, and it's pretty worth it if you can do that. 2 Elm, because we want to be able to search for the Seadra or the Wailord especially, so there's that, and then for Oak. Honestly, this is just the best draw support in the format, and that's very unfortunate, to be honest, because it's not super good. Like, Shuffle Draw 5 is okay, but I wish it was better. And then, of course, the One-Town Volunteers. We do want to be able to shuffle back stuff if we have to sacrifice early, because there are times where you're just running a little bit slow and you have to sacrifice like a Horsey or 2 in order, or even a Whalmer, in order to actually get yourself going here. Whalmer, by the way, is 80 HP. This thing is bigger than most stage 1s. It's kind of ridiculous. So yeah, this might end up being what I play. The only reason to not play this would be exactly because Sai has got Raichu EX, and Raichu EX is one of the only cards that can one-shot this Wailord. Everything else, I think, just loses to this, which is pretty crazy to think about. Next set there is going to be another lightning attacker that can do a lot to this, but right now this is just terrifying. So I don't know, we might see it. But yeah, if you've managed to sit through this, thank you very much for listening. We will be getting back to this pretty soon, hopefully this weekend. But yeah, I just needed to kind of show the decks that I've been able to make this week, because it really wasn't looking good after that draft. But thankfully the guys have helped out a lot. We have been able to trade for some good stuff, and I think these are very potent. Like, especially the Shiftry one. I think this is exceptionally good. So we'll just have to see. Alright, till next time, take care.